Let's talk about what happens when you have great intentions, a superstructure, a plan. It may be for a home improvement project, it may be for a creative project that you're working on, a podcast, for example, just spitballing here. It could be a party that you're hosting, an email that you're writing, whatever it is, something that you want to do, or at least you want to do, but it starts to feel heavier than necessary. I'm going to share my most recent experience with you, and we're just going to dance around some of the most useful thoughts that I've been coming to realize here in the last few weeks. Because once upon a time, you probably haven't even heard the episode that I'm referencing here, but now maybe you'll go back and listen to it. I'm not going to erase it because it's part of the journey. But towards the end of 2025, my plan for 2026 with the podcast was, what if I made it a practice and just got into the loop of publishing once a week? And I could even record on Loom and video because I liked how crisp the audio was, but it still felt pretty natural and easy to do. It felt reasonably lo-fi. And what if I actually kept to the themes of the different areas of life that we talk about in the On Her Terms universe? On the back end with my clients, we have a different theme every month, and we're looking at that particular area of life and using our values to be able to shift and do and redesign and basically create the life you would choose again over and over, right? In each different area of life. We're spinning the lazy Susan. We know that everything gets its turn, and we're going to actually look at each area of life, right? So I was thinking, how cool would it be in the podcast if I was sharing some of my best field notes on each of these different topics and lessons that I've learned, things that have been useful, blah, 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 to share with you in the podcast. That's all well and good, but it was just too much. Honey, it was too much. And so I wasn't doing it, as you can see, because now I'm recording this at the end of April. Published. I haven't published an episode since January. So what I have learned is it was just too many things. Like the intentions were good. I mean, solid. By good, I mean true and solid. There were many pieces where I'm like, yes, what actually still feels true from that? What feels true is absolutely, I want to be touching on all the different areas of life so that you can, well, one, benefit hopefully from whatever it is that I'm sharing, that it'll be useful to you in some way, but two, so that you can actually see the kind of work that I'm doing and the way that I'm thinking and the way that I'm helping my clients think differently about their lives as well behind the scenes, just so you get to experience that. And if you are interested in participating on the other side as a client, then it gives you a better idea of all the different areas that we touch using the values, which is what we identify in my regular What Matters workshops. Um, Basically, like what naturally drives you and all of that jazz. We'll talk about that more in future episodes. But the method, there were just too many changes at once that made it feel too heavy. One, the video. Okay, great. Yeah, sure, I'd love to do more video, but I can also just do that by hosting more workshops and being real in real time with people. I don't care so much right now about recording video for video's sake, especially when it's not live, because then I'll overthink what I'm actually saying, and that doesn't feel fun to me or natural to me or useful to me, because I'm not trying to perform. I just want to connect and communicate and express the thing I want to say to the person I want to say it to, and then move on with my life. So that was an unnecessary constraint, and I can scratch that itch for wanting to be more face-to-face connected with you if you actually show up in a live call that I'm hosting. Boom. Okay. Also, like I said, I can free myself to talk about all the different topics without needing to say, I can only talk about this month and this next month and this that month. I do that on the back end to keep things organized and focused for my clients so that we have a structure and they can relax into knowing I'm holding the structure. Everything is going to have its turn on this carousel of progress, or lazy Susan, the sparky Susan that we look at with the recycling emoji. A little bit of self focus, a little bit of fam focus, a little bit of business focus, lather, rinse, repeat over and over and over as your life starts to feel more and more true and more like yours. That's what we do on the back end, but that doesn't mean that I have to pass my content and my conversations and my ideas and my light bulb moments through the eye of a needle to pass it through this purification filter for the themes for the month. I'm sharing this again in hopes that you can apply it to a creative project, something where you were adding way too many constraints in the name of structure and organization. And then you were like, oh, actually, this doesn't feel fun at all. Abandon ship. And then you do what I did. That's what I'm saying, sucking the fun out of the creative project. It's just not necessary. The other piece too was by saying, okay, let me make a collection for each of these topics. I was putting way too much pressure on each of these 4 or 5 episodes in a given month to be the best of what I have to share on this particular topic. Like if this was my last year of life and I had to say, as I'm being swallowed into the earth, like, remember this about marriage or money or whatever, like this was a useful tip or tool or a reframe for me. It's too much pressure. No, no, no. I have too many episodes on that where I share, like, especially the one where I shared about realizing that by the law of averages, half of whatever we create, whether we create 100 things or 1,000 things or 100,000 things, half of them are going to be below average. So what? Like the more you create, the more below average stuff you create too. That's okay. I was putting way too much pressure on it. I remember I did the same thing with my first blog post in 2013 when I was creating my first version of my website. And I was like, oh my gosh, what should the first blog post be? Like it's my epitaph or something. It's too much. And no wonder then you're like, well, I don't know. Is that the best thing I want to say about this? I'm not worried about that. You and I, again, the goal of this podcast is not like mass reach or whatever. It's just connection, expression, and I'm sharing things that are useful to me in hopes that they're also useful to you. And that if you're feeling the resonance, that you will reach out and we can actually have a one-on-one conversation that may turn into something else and may not. But in either case, it's a signal and it's a form of expression. It is not something I'm interested in putting a bunch of pressure on or embodying a bunch of performance vibes for what? It's a self-published podcast on her terms. It's antithetical for me to feel like I have to do it a certain way because it's literally my podcast. No one is telling me what to do, and that's very intentional. So all of those things were, I get it. I get where they came from. I'm going to fulfill those elements in other ways because the other thing I was sharing with the lo-fi approach to the podcast of recording whenever I felt like it was that it felt too willy-nilly, but that doesn't mean that I needed to overcorrect to the too structured, which is what I did. So for me, of course, the golden mean, the principle of the golden mean, there's going to be somewhere in the middle where now that I'm clearing the bottleneck by acknowledging this was a real efficient way to suck the fun out of a creative project that I was actually very inspired by otherwise, then now I'm like, oh, yay, okay, now I can record whatever because I have things I want to say on all these other different topics. And just because they weren't ready in their particular little file and month, it's like, okay, that doesn't matter anymore. So now I can free myself to be myself, as they say, and record whatever, whenever it actually comes up. So the lesson here for us, as opposed to coming up with any kind of perfect plan, which is cute and tempting, and I get it, and I know why we do it. The perfect plan is actually what's the plan that I'll actually do. And we don't know that until we try it. We don't know it. Of course, if we could think our way there, we'd be there because we are really, really good at thinking about all the different options and things. But the truth is, no way around it. We have to actually come up with a plan to start and then try it and tweak it and notice what makes it easy for me to start. And that's where I came up with the idea of the lo-fi podcast as opposed to back in the day. And you may be like, what are you talking about, Nikki? I'll link to that somewhere in the show notes around here. But I have a podcast called Lo-Fi Podcast or something like it, where I was just naming that that's the style that works best for me for the On Her Terms podcast. It's literally, I can just hit record on my phone and I can talk to you like I'm leaving you a voice note, which is my intention anyway. Like I said, this is a one to many form to start one-on-one conversations. Basically, that's my intention. I do feel like I am actually just talking to you, even though I know you could actually be multiple people. And that was easier for me than back in the day when I had the Naptime Empires podcast. And I'm like, I need to be in the carpeted, insulated closet and I need to have my Yeti mic with my pop filter and everyone needs to shush. Like all conditions need to be perfect and the trash truck can't be driving by or the lawnmower or whatever. That's not life. It's not happening. I don't want it. I actually don't want to shush my life. I want to live my life and share things that are useful to me, and that's what I want to do, or I won't do it, right? That's the lesson here. And so that this was just another way for me to remember, oh, right, that's exactly why I'm an advocate for lo-fi podcasting, because I love crisp audio. I love high production value. I think that they absolutely have a place, but that place is not currently in my life and business. Okay. Okay. So the question there is, like I said, what actually helps and makes it easy for you to start? What actually increases the resistance or the drag on it? That's the experiment. That's how you make the air quotes perfect plan, is to see what are the conditions that make it so easy. What's the absolute bare minimum bar? Like whenever people will say, if you want to start walking more or working out or whatever, it's like just putting your shoes on or just walking to the mailbox or I walk inside my house every day because it's really freaking hot outside. I don't want to walk outside. I don't want to be in the sun. I don't want to be sweating, but I can walk inside my house. And then once I realized that, I was like, oh, that was a game changer because the bar was too high. If it was going outside, I wouldn't do it. So what makes it easy for me to start? You don't even have to walk around. You could literally walk in place, for example, for 1 minute, for example. So again, we're talking about creative projects, but that's just another application of the principle, which is what makes it so easy to start that there's absolutely no resistance. And I have talked about this before, where if it was, for example, recording a podcast, and what actually felt heavy isn't the recording, but the publishing or the show notes and all the song and dance of the tech pieces that come after it. Okay. Then what if you just made the first mini goal to do the recording, just to do the actual first step of it? And the whole aim here, and this is something that can apply literally in every area of life when we're trying to actually lead ourselves into a specific mode or action to actually do something that matters to us, that's the whole goal. Is like to give ourselves loving support and useful structure. And it's not structure for structure's sake, but it's something that's actually supportive. Just because something's organized doesn't mean that it's actually supportive to you. So the aim is to find conditions that actually make it easier for you to follow through without judgment of, well, I should be able to. It should be easy. So and so does this or what. It's like, who cares? This is you, hashtag on her terms. This is your life. This is your energy that you have. These are the resources that you have available right now. So what is the golden mean for you? Somewhere between for me, not waiting or not forcing myself to record and like, sit down, you have to do your homework. My parents never did that. I actually, for the most part, really enjoyed doing homework when I was growing up. That's a whole separate conversation. But yeah, somewhere between forcing myself to do it and then feeling like at any given time I could be recording a podcast and I need to go record it right now, immediately, right now, while the idea is happening. Somewhere in between, I do love recording while the energy is fresh. That's another podcast called Krispy Kreme Content, when it's hot and fresh or hot and ready, whatever the expression is. I think there's a lot of fun and value in that too. But somewhere in there, I have to find what works for me. And what works for me this year is going to be what would have worked different, for last year or maybe next year or whatever. But that's the point. That's the point, is the experiment. That's the point, is that it's our own creativity. And sometimes the creativity is actually in just learning to lead ourselves into the actions that we say that we want to take. And why not? In the On Her Terms universe, why not? If there's something that you want to do, why not make it easy to love and return to? Why feel like it has to feel drudgy, sludgy? If it feels drudgy, sludgy, that's a sign, there's all this friction and resistance, that it's a design problem. It's not a you problem. There's not something wrong with you, and now you have to force yourself to get into character and be a totally different person. I don't personally believe that. It's not the philosophy. If I were advising you as a creative advisor over here, that's not the philosophy that I would walk you through. I would say what naturally works for you based on your own structure and hierarchy of values and the actual innate drivers that you're processing through and the things that naturally matter to you. How can we work with that to make this an easy yes for you? Not to say it's always going to be easy, but it can be a whole lot easier if you actually take the time to look at it and see what was causing the drag, and then actually control what you can and change what you can to the degree that you can, especially if it's a creative project, which was the point of this particular conversation. But like I said, there are so many other applications, and that is why I am now clearing the bottleneck, back on the board, back on the phone, back on the button, so that we can cover a whole lot of different ways that you can apply this kind of thinking to many different areas of life. I have a variety of topics that I'd love to explore with you. I hope that you will hit the button to comment and engage, because really, truly, the conversation and the mutual inspiration that I get from hearing from you is one of the things that makes this easy to love and come back to. So I'm grateful that you're taking time to listen today, wherever you are, whenever you are. And I look forward to connecting more soon, now that we have a better plan, a more perfect plan. And that's it. That's the tweet. Give yourself permission to experiment. Notice what helps, what makes it easier for you to start, what reduces the resistance. And don't judge yourself for whatever it is. It's your life. It's your On Her Terms life. It's your project. It's your habit. It's whatever it is that you're working on. Why not make it easy to love and return to? Over and over again. Okay, that's all for real. Talk to you next time.